Zombie Apocalypse.
How's it going, everybody? This is Top of Dravo. Still wrote stuff from all of those Pop-Tarts I had last week, but I'm back again with another video. Alright, it's time for another edition of Haulin Games, where in this series I talk about all the games that I bought every month for my collection, and for this video I'm going to be talking about all the games that I got for the month of June of 2021. That being said, we're not going to waste any time. Here we have all the games that I got for the month of June, and as you can see, I did expand a little bit this time. I got a couple more games this time than I did the last couple of months, and also got a couple brand new genre games that I also got in this series as well. So, something new as well. And again, there are a lot of games that I got here that I weren't really planning on getting, but you know what? They had some pretty unique deals, and so I thought it's the last second, you know what? Why not just go ahead and add them to my collection? Plus, some of them were childhood games that I also had as well. So, looking forward to sharing with you some of the games that I got for this month. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. As usual, we are going to start with our racing games, and we're going to start with Short Track Racing Trading Paint. Now, this was a game that was released in 2008. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of NASCAR. However, I never really thought that there would ever be a video game that was just purely based on just short track racing. Well, here we go. This is one that I actually was able to find, and so I'm really happy about that. And basically, the objective of the game is pretty much just to race against multiple other drivers across short tracks across the country. Pretty much the good old boys of stock car racing. And so, I haven't gotten a chance to play this yet, but I've heard a lot of cool things about this video game. So, when I get the chance, I'm probably going to be balling out on this a little bit. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to have this. And yeah, I never thought there would be a short track racing game. So, pretty unique that I actually have this one. Alright, now usually, like I said, there would be some games that I don't have in my collection wish list that, I'm not really planning on getting. However, there would actually end up being a great deal on this, or it's just something that really catches my eye and I decide, you know what, I really want to get this. So let me go ahead and try to buy this into my collection. Well, we had plenty of them this month, and this was the very first of them. This is Suzuki TT Superbikes. This was released all the way back in 2005, and I know what you're thinking, is this all about just racing Suzuki TT Superbikes? Well, not just that. It's actually also based on the popular race all the way in Europe that takes place every summer, a historic event called the Isle of Man, and it's also one of the very dangerous motorsports events that takes place around the world. And so this video game is based off of that particular event. I've already played a little bit of this game, and it is a pretty fun game, and so I will definitely play a little more of this in the near future, even though definitely wasn't really planning on getting it. But like I said, pretty cool to have this game. Next up is a game that I used to have during my childhood, and I'm happy I have this in my collection. This is Monster Jam Maximum Destruction, released all the way back in 2002. Pretty simple. This is based off the popular motorsport called Monster Jam, in which you race in monster trucks like Gravedigger, Goldberg, and all of that. Obviously some of the best monster trucks there are in this world. I used to play this game quite a bit when I was a kid, and so I remember playing this a lot, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it. So I'm happy that I have this game. Just one problem though. It's a blue disc. God damn it. Why does it have to be like this, man? I don't know. At some point I'm going to get the Slim PS2, and hopefully I can play this game. So, I'm really happy that I have this game, but unfortunately, the fact that it's a blue disc means I can't play it for right now. But whatever, I have this in my collection, and at some point when I get the Slim PS2, I am going to play this game and have a lot of fun reliving this game as well. Next up for this month, we have Test Drive. This was a game that was released all the way back in 2002. Now, there was actually another version of this game that was actually released, and that was actually for the PAL version. The original title of this game was actually Test Drive The Brotherhood of Speed. However, here in America, they just simply titled this as, well, Test Drive. And obviously, it is to be part of the historic Test Drive video game franchise, a lot of great video games there. I'm hoping that I get a PlayStation 1 soon, because there's a game on the Test Drive franchise that I remember playing that I don't have, and I really want to play that game again. And so, hopefully I get that soon. But, really good to have Test Drive in my video game collection. And finally, the last of the racing games that I have for this month, it is Driven. Now, this is actually based off the 2001 film Driven, which is based off of the Kart Championship series. Obviously, though, it's fictional events that take place in that film. And obviously, the storyline here is pretty much the same in this game. You're racing across multiple tracks across the world, and basically racing to try to become the best driver there is in the Kart series. Obviously, as we all know, the reviews for the film obviously were not very good. It wasn't a very popular film, so we really don't know how much about the game, though. I haven't had a chance to play this yet, but at some point I will. But I will be honest with you, I actually really enjoyed the film. I really enjoyed watching this when I was a kid, and it was probably one of my favorite films growing up. So, hopefully the game is the same exact thing as the film as well, because I enjoyed that movie, and I'm pretty sure as an open wheel racing fan myself, I'm pretty sure this could be a pretty fun game for me to play as well. Alright, that's it for all the racing games for this month. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on over to our action games, and the first one, I'm actually pretty surprised about this one. This is actually probably one of my most hilarious releases. I mean, I would never even thought this game even existed. This is Starsky and Hutch. This was released in 2003. This game is actually based off a show on the same name back in the 1970s that I had never even heard of. Basically, what this game is about is that you have to complete all these missions while also increasing viewership ratings, because they actually base this off of seasons, and there's really 3 seasons there are in this, and so basically you have to keep viewership ratings up while you're completing all of these tasks and skill sets as well throughout this game. I mean, I guess this is their take on the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm not so sure I've never even heard of Starsky and Hutch prior to this, but you know what? This looks like it could be a pretty interesting game, or it could just be another hilarious blow up. But you know what? I haven't had a chance to play this yet, but I will get the chance to do so soon. But yeah, pretty interesting game that I got here. Next one that I got here is Borderlands 2. Now this was the sequel to the original Borderlands. This one was released in 2012, so this game picks up right where the first one left off. Now if you ask me if I've already played the original Borderlands yet, because of my crazy work hours, unfortunately no, I have still not gotten the chance to do so, but I will at some point, and as soon as I do that, hopefully I'll get a chance to play Borderlands 2 a little bit as well. But hey, you know what? Even if you haven't played the first game, it's not going to stop me from getting the second game as well. So you know what? Happy to have Borderlands 2. Next up is Batman Arkham Asylum. Now this is the game that was released in 2009. Basically, it is based off of the historic superhero character Batman, and obviously we all know Batman, probably one of the greatest fictional superheroes of all time, and there's quite a bit that takes place in this game, especially since it takes place in Arkham City, and there's really a lot going on here, but it's pretty much similar to every Batman game that there is in this world out there. I'm not really much into superhero games. I loved superhero movies when I was a kid, but obviously not as much of a fan of it now. But obviously I hope to get the chance to play this soon, because I'm looking to add some superhero games in my collection as well. And so yeah, I got myself a Batman game. Never thought I'd see the day that I would have that in my PlayStation collection, but I have it right here, and so yeah, hopefully this game is pretty good. Next up, we have the original Assassin's Creed. This was released all the way back in 2007. Now I already showed you in my collection all the way back in 2019. I have Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Well, this was the game that started the Assassin's Creed franchise off right here. This obviously is probably one of the most historic video game franchises there is, and it's a pretty big one as well, and this was really where it all began right here. So I'm really happy to have the original Assassin's Creed here in my collection. I'm hoping to get many of the other Assassin's Creed games as well, especially the second one after this one, Assassin's Creed 2, because I heard that was probably one of the greatest video games ever made. So I will test this game out first and hopefully see if it is what the review says it is, because it's a really good franchise, and I definitely hope that it's a really good game as well. Next up here, we have Dishonored. This was a game that was released in 2012, and also another one of the most popular video games that was ever made. Probably another one of those great hits that everybody remembers from when the PlayStation 3 days were really at their brightest. I wasn't actually planning on getting this. This wasn't really on my collection wish list, but you know what? I saw this for a really good deal, and because of the history that was offered this game as well, I thought, you know what? Why not go ahead and get this as well? This is another good pickup here, and I'm happy to have Dishonored here, even though I wasn't planning on getting it. But yeah, hopefully this is a good game as well. I'm really excited to have this here as well. And finally, the last of the action games that I got for this month is Fallout 4. Now I know this is probably the most famous of the Fallout games there are. This was released all the way back in 2015, in the early days of the PlayStation 4. I know this game was heavily marketed, obviously, during the time, and a lot of my friends when I was a senior in kindergarten when this game was out, they were talking about this game quite a bit, but I never really had a chance to get this game, and just like Dishonored, this one was off a really good deal online, so I thought I'd go ahead and get this game as well. And so basically the setting of this is that it's in a post-apocalyptic world, and so obviously here you have to fight to survive and just do whatever you can to try to protect yourself and hopefully save the world as well. This could be a good one. I know Fallout 4 is heavily marketed, so yeah, hopefully it's what the marketing campaign of it was really about. So yeah, hopefully I get the chance to play this one soon. Alright, next up we are going to move into our war games. Obviously, I found some pretty good ones here that I was pretty interested in. Here's the first of them. This is Delta Force Black Hawk Down. Now, this was released in 2005, and this game was actually based off of real events. This actually takes you in the midst of Delta Force, an actual squadron in Somalia in 1993, in which you take part in actual missions against the enemy there. So this is a really interesting one. This is almost very similar to SOCOM and a whole bunch of those other video games as well that takes place in the Middle East as well. And so, you know, this is a very interesting pickup. I never thought that I would really get this game, but hey, I'm definitely happy to have this one, and hopefully I get the chance to play this soon. I haven't had a chance to play this one yet. Next up, we have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. Now, this is almost very similar to SOCOM US Navy SEALs. This is a tactical shooter that was released in 2001, and basically you control an entire squadron through a whole series of missions, and so obviously it's almost very similar to SOCOM. You know, definitely a very interesting one in the Tom Clancy video game franchise. You know, Ghost Recon I definitely know is not as acclaimed as the Splinter Cell franchise, but you know what, it's definitely really good for me to have the first game in the Ghost Recon collection, and so obviously I'm hoping to get all the other Ghost Recon games as well. Don't run from your destiny. Come on, I was just joking with you. I mean, it is the actual title of this game though. This was all the way back in 2014. This is the original Destiny game that came out 7 years ago. Obviously, you play as a guardian in which you protect your world from these alien-like forces from destroying the world and all that. And so this is a very interesting game that I have here, and also a very heavily marketed one during that time as well. I know there was a lot of talk about how big this game was during that time as well. Now, the questionable thing about this one is that this is an online-only multiplayer game. You know, I have been trying to get into the online multiplayer stuff in recent years, so you know, I am going to try to figure this out as well, and once I get this online multiplayer thing out, hopefully I get a chance to play the story mode of this game, because it's a really interesting game. And you know, Destiny was definitely one of those early hits for the PlayStation 4, and so this is definitely a very interesting pickup here, and I'm happy that I have it, and you know, hopefully this game is pretty good. Alright, moving on to our crime games here. I only have one crime game for this week, but it's probably one of the all-time greatest for the PlayStation 2. I'm very excited that I have this one. This is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is released all the way back in 2004, and this is based off of real life events. So obviously you play in a fictional story. This takes place all the way back in 1992, but it includes a lot of real world themes that were taking place during that time, especially themes from the LA riots in 1992, you know, gang wars, as well as, you know, like race riots, and there was a whole bunch of things that were incorporated in GTA San Andreas here. But you know, this was really the major hit for the Grand Theft Auto series in PlayStation 2. Other than GTA 3, of course, which really brought GTA on the map here. Obviously, I do wish the case was in a little bit of better shape than it is. It is a little ripped up just a little bit, but I did test the game. It does play just fine, and so hopefully, you know, I get to play more of this in the future, because the story mode I know is really badass, and it's definitely a very hilarious GTA game as well. So really excited to have this one, and hopefully I get to play more of this in the near future. Alright, finally we're going to introduce you to two new genres here in this collection. The very first one of them is the puzzle genre, and this one is based off of a very popular board game that really blew up the video game industry during the mid 20th century. This is called Tetris World. Now, this was based off of the popular Tetris game, and this was released all the way back in 2002. This is pretty much the same concept as it was during the mid 20th century. You know, you just basically solve a lot of puzzles. However, there's also a story behind it. You also have to protect various creatures from, you know, other galactic worlds as well, and you know, just try to save as many as you can as well. I do remember that there was actually two covers of this game. I know there was one other one that was actually created by a popular British artist, obviously, but this is the one that I remember more, so I was actually able to get this one. Yeah, this is definitely a very interesting one. I'm really happy that I have this one. I remember having this as a kid, and I played a little bit of it. Wasn't very good at it, but you know, I'm hoping I get a chance to try to get better at this one. Unfortunately though, it is another blue disc, and so obviously that really sucks. Dad, I'm sorry, but at some point I am gonna have to break that fourth wall and get this one PS2, because I am not gonna be put in this situation anymore. But again, Tetris Worlds, you know, I remember having this. Thought it'd be good to have this back into my collection. Alright, and the last one is in the horror genre. Now, this was actually pretty interesting how I ended up getting this game. There was actually an original deal that was actually really good that I wanted to get off this one, and it was actually a pretty good looking cover as well. So I literally tried to purchase that that one. However, as soon as I made that purchase, unfortunately, the person that was selling it ended up just canceling it right away for some reason. I have no idea why it did that. So fortunately, there was another one that was almost the same exact deal. Unfortunately, it looks a little cruddier than it really should, but you know what? The heck of it. I really wasn't planning on getting it, but you know what? I thought, why not go ahead? It was off for a good deal. This is Dead Island. This was released all the way back in 2011, and this takes place in the fictional island of Banoi, in which it ends up being a zombie outbreak after a very popular party that takes place involving a lot of hip-hop music and all of that. And so basically the goal of this is to try to survive the zombie apocalypse that takes place there and try to get out of the island in one piece as well. I know the cover of it doesn't look as good as it seems, and so you would think that it probably wouldn't work, but I did test it. It works fine, and I definitely am looking forward to playing more of this game. I mean, I'm not much of a fan of horror, you know. I mean, I have seen some horror films online and in the theaters the last couple of years, but you know, I'm just really not that much of a fan of horror, so who knows, maybe Dead Island here can probably help me overcome that fear a little bit, but if it doesn't, then hey, I mean, at least I have this game just for fun, you know. But yeah, you know, obviously it's really nice to have new genres, obviously, you know. Over the past few weeks, I've probably just dealt with just racing, action, war, and crime games, so definitely good to break out and venture into other genres as well, like this one, and puzzles as well. So horror-wise, like I said, not much of a fan of it, but hey, maybe this game can probably help me overcome my fears of that a little bit. Alright, and with that being said, that is it for all the games that I got for the month of June 2021. Obviously, like I said, to branch out, get 3 more games or 17 games instead of 14. Obviously, that's pretty fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what I can get for next month, July of 2021. I'll begin with my first shipment this Monday. And yeah, like I said, you know, at some point I'm hopeful to get the PlayStation 2 Slim along with the PlayStation 1 and start getting some PS1 games there. I actually went to Digital Press Video Games in Springfield for the very first time last week, actually. You know, I said that I was going to go there at some point, and they do have a couple of those on sale, so I'm actually very excited to get those, hopefully at some point in the near future, maybe in August, because I know there's actually going to be 5 Mondays, obviously, so those are usually those times where if there's like 5 Mondays, I'll probably get games on 3 of them, so maybe I can use one of them to go to Digital Press and see if I can get some games, and hopefully the PS1 and the Slim PS2 there. You know, it's definitely nice to venture out, get some new games, obviously, and yeah, like I said, slightly bigger collection this time than the last 2 months. That's a big improvement, and hopefully I can improve on that in the month of July. Otherwise, that's going to do it for another video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. As always, be sure to comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's vlogs, projects, challenges, or even video game content, you name it. Feel free to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for another video. Hope you're having a great Independence Day weekend. Hope you're enjoying all the fireworks that are going to take place this Sunday evening. And as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.